Greetings and welcome to Student Exposure, where we highlight student-produced projects created by participants in DCTV's training program. I'm your host, Karen Curry, and thank you for joining us. Today's episode of Student Exposure focuses on some of DC's unsung heroes and heroines. We will recognize some little-known but key players contributing to the success of our nation's capital. Today, we'll take a look at an organization's restoration efforts of the Anacostia River. How one man's mentoring is having a lasting impact on today's youth. An organization and its leader that helped to bring change for youth. And a chef that serves the homeless. This is Student Exposure, Unsung Heroes and Heroines. From our studios in the historic Brooks Mansion, located in Northeast Washington, D.C., this is Student Exposure. Thanks again for joining us for Student Exposure's Unsung Heroes and Heroines. It's time to get started with our first segment. Can you imagine a future where DC residents are swimming and fishing in the Anacostia River? Well, the folks at the Anacostia Watershed Society can. We'll learn from the organization's public policy director, Dan Smith, and their natural resource specialist, Jorge Bogantes Montero, how AWS is working to clean the Anacostia River by 2025.
I'm the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy for the Anacostia Watershed Society. What I get to do here with the nonprofit organization, with the Anacostia Watershed Society, is to help look at how the policies, the practices, the laws, the regulations in Washington, D.C. and in Maryland and in the communities around the river, how we can use those to clean up the river and get people involved. We work with a lot of them, and a lot of it like business community. So we work a lot with the new sort of up and coming developers and development and the business improvement districts. The challenge to fix is how we deal with polluted runoff, which is sort of like, you know, an injury, like a little cuts that add up in a big way. So, so we actually want to have different kind of development. And so our challenge is to, how do we help people understand you can have river-friendly practices and development. The problems with the river that need to be fixed are too much trash, toxics. We've got some legacy, some pollution that's there from past practices. We have a really bad sewer system in much of the district, and here that is resulting in sewage overflows to the river. Some of these things take a long time. So cleaning up a toxic site takes a long time because you want to do it right. You have to have good information, and then it can be really expensive. So who's going to pay for that? And so often this gets into court, and you have like, oh, this company or that government agency, and they say, we didn't do that, we don't be responsible. So there's a lot of litigation and things. What we're trying to do is get all of the things that need to be done sort of happening at the same time, whether it's trash cleanups, toxics, the polluted runoff, and get people to address those at the same time, rather than like, oh, let's do this problem now, and then we do that one, and it'll take 50 years. And so our goal is that we want to have a fishable, swimmable Anacostia River by 2025.
So I'm the natural resources specialist here at the Anacostia Watershed Society. So I do hands-on restoration work in the wetlands, tree plantings, meadow restoration, work with volunteers and and help our education team with, you know, school programs and such. A work day here at the Anacostia Watershed Society is very interesting. In the, let's say during the, you know, the warm season, I might be, you know, surveying for mussels in the river, touching the mud and surveying for mussels, or planting wetland plants. And then in the afternoon, I might be doing some, you know, administrative work, you know, grant reporting and that kind of things. But one of the reasons why we do plantings is just to bring back species that might be gone because of the goose grazing, and to engage the public, really, which is something that public really appreciates, learning about the ecology of the wetlands here and right in the middle of the city. I would say the climate change and sea level rise, trash, and the development are some of the three huge issues we face. Our idea is to bring people to the river and engage them in our mission, which is making the Anacostia River fishable and swimmable by 2025.
Here in the studio is DCTV student producer Mario Ramirez. Welcome to Student Exposure, Mario.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Good to have you. Now, the Anacostia Watershed Society has quite an ambitious goal. Tell me more about how they're funded and whether individuals can donate.
Yes, they're funded by government grants, and if an individual wants to donate to them, they just have to visit their website.
Okay, and we'll be sure to tell viewers how to do that. But I want you to tell us about your favorite part about visiting with the Anacostia Watershed Society.
My colleagues and I's favorite part is when Jorge actually took us to the waterfront park and we were able to actually see how far their mission has progressed. It was amazing.
Okay, good. So were you and your colleagues able to get really up close and personal to see some of the before and after activities?
You know, we didn't want to get dirty that day, so no.
I understand. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
It really
All
is.
right, all right. Well, we're so glad that they are taking care of that, and we're so glad you all took time to really reveal to us the great work that they're doing there. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you.
By rallying students and volunteers for cleanup days and innovative planning projects, AWS is working steadily towards its goal of a cleaner, safer river. For more information, visit anacostiaws.org. Next on Student Exposure, we'll explore how one man's mentoring is having a lasting impact on today's youth.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back to Student Exposure. Did you know it's been said about 40% of DC students graduate high school? This statistic has not deterred Coach Archie Bezlow. He's on a mission to prove that mentorship is not an option, but vital to the success of our children's future. Let's find out more.
Mentor is a serious word. A lot of our coaches, parents, leaders take the word for granted. I think you do a disservice to our kids when you don't consistently mentor them in their lives. You can't only just mentor the kid, you have to mentor the parents as well. So what I do as a mentor, once I'm in a child's life, I stay in their life for the rest of their lives. I don't just mentor the kids during football season or during a crisis, because a lot of kids are missing out on someone that really cares about them outside their families. Who inspired me to become a mentor? Wow. I want to say God first, Dr. King, and my father. I always, present those three names because they meant a lot to me in my life. And if you know their track records, they have always been in our lives, whether adults, kids, you name it. And what they did was they set the groundwork. Of course, we know what the God Almighty, what He has done for the world. We also know what Dr. King has done. And I know what my father has done for me. So what I do is I kind of put all those in this pot, and that's how I become a mentor to these kids that I mentor. Do I have a different approach as it relates to boys and girls? Well, of course, quite naturally, boys are boys and young ladies are young ladies. So I'm a loving and caring type of mentor. I'm a hands-on. I tell all my kids I mentor that I love them on a consistent basis. I always bring them to Jesus. I always teach them to pray. It's based off of the situation and circumstances. A young man can have the same type of problems that a young lady would have. Will I address that different? It just depends on the moment. So I mentor based off of the moment, not based off of the gender. The biggest hurdle that I have is the reiteration from their parents. I can mentor, cultivate, and get the kids going in the right direction, but once they leave from my site and my tutelage and they go home, they go into the same environments. So now I have to do double work. But I received that. That's fine, because that's how the world is. So what I've done is I incorporated parents and youth consultations. So I talk to the mom and the dad. So that way I'm giving the parents a ground print, I'm giving the kids a ground print. So now the kids and the parents know that I care about them both. Not just the kids, but I care about the parents and the family as a whole. So when they see that you care about the entire family, so then I'm able to actually change lives, because I'm not just focusing on the child, and I'm not trying to act like I'm better than their parents. We're all working together so that this kid can become a nice young man and a respectful young lady. And it takes all of us to do that. What are my expectations from mentees? I just want them to be law-abiding citizens. I want them to be very respectful. I want them to realize where we've come from. Like, I'm a firm believer in telling our kids about Black history. There are positives about Black history, and there are negatives about Black history. Like, there are negatives about things that we're seeing today. We have to talk about our past to get our kids right for our future. All my life, I've listened. You become who you are based off of wisdom. And I learned that at an early age. So the more I listen, the better off I am as a person. What makes me feel rewarded as a mentor is not so much an event. This is the fact that young men and young ladies and parents often reach out to me to come and see their child either receive an award, come talk to their children when something is going wrong. And even when the kids call me, when they have like great accomplishments, or if a kid called me like at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, "Coach Archie, I need your help." Or kids telling me, some things that you told me a couple of years ago, it still sits on my heart today. So the fact that parents, kids, coaches alike reiterate the things that I've done for them over the years is my reward. I truly believe that God put me on this planet to mentor and to take care of people that can't take care of themselves.
Here in the studio, we have DCTV student producer Jessica TuneIn. Welcome to Student Exposure, Jessica.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you for being here and for sharing what an inspiring story with Coach Archie. Tell us, what makes him so unique?
Coach Archie is also not only a coach, but he's a mentor. He's an accomplished author. He's also been with the MPD unit since 1990 and on the Executive Protection Unit since 1995, and working with and protecting our mayors. And the current mayor and also the 4 former mayors.
Wow, what an extensive background that he has. There's also something about Archbishop Carroll High School, and tell me a little bit about that connection and what the relationship is with that school in his career.
Yeah, he actually graduated from that school. Oh. And so it's just very full circle for him, not only as a student, but now he's a coach and a mentor to the youth.
All right, wonderful. Now, what about the parents? I know he does a lot of work with the kids, but what's his impact with the parents?
It's really important for him not only to take care of the students, make sure that their academics and their sports, but also to teach the parents, how to reiterate these things that they're learning through him with the parents.
Wonderful. What a great example about how one person can really make an impact. Thank you so much for that. The impact of a mentor can change the outcome of the future for many young people. Whether it's through sports or education, Coach Archie is a proud mentor who's helping to guide our youth one step at a time. For more information about Coach Archie Bezlow, visit his website at archiebezlow.com. Coming up next, an organization and its leader that helped to bring change for youth.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Welcome back. For over 40 years, one organization and its heroic leader have fought to create better opportunities for youth in one of the most unsafe neighborhoods in the district. Her name is Brenda Jones, and she's the founder of the Parklands Community Center.
The one word that will describe my journey is inspired. I was definitely inspired to work in the community to help persons who needed help, or to support persons who needed help, because I myself had been in a position of needing help. And I always said that once I became an adult, I would help people if I could.
Her legacy to me is to inspire, motivate with sincerity.
My name is Brenda H. Jones, and I'm a community activist. I was inspired by all the talent in the community, the young people, the number of young people that were in the community that really needed to be involved with constructive programming. And I felt that I had that talent to do that. So I opened the community center in 1980. The Parklands Community Center was a grassroots nonprofit organization that provided programs and service to enhance the quality of life of young people, families, and parents east of the river. We would go in some homes that you would not believe. I mean, you would think that it was, at that time, we would call them New Jack City. I mean, we were fearless because we wanted to make sure those parents, those children that were in those homes got service. And we would go there, it didn't matter, fearless. We'd go there, we would go in those homes and say, look, we're here to help because someone has told us there's a family in trouble.
I know Brenda Jones for probably 20, 30 years. Brenda Jones is really not Brenda Jones. It's actually what she created was the Parkland Community Center. It gave the youth a vision to see other things than just the neighborhood. And also it's inspired us to learn more things about not just our culture, but also about other cultures and different cities around the country, which was pretty much limited when I was growing up there. So it impacted my life a lot. You know, it has me learning new things. It started when I was there, when I was young, under her tutelage, I guess you want to say, and it kept rolling, snowballing. Well, I wanted to know more about everything, and I'm very thankful that we even had a community center there.
Starting the Parklands Community Center has influenced my life greatly. I feel very, very pleased that I'm able to make a difference in someone's life. I'm able to assist in the betterment of our community, basically. I'm able to expose young people to things they might not have ordinarily been exposed to if the Parklands Community Center was not open. It has helped me personally, given me great satisfaction, and I'm very, very proud of so many of the young people, families, parents who have come through Parklands Community Center. The one thing that I wish I had known in my journey was that crack was on its way. As I stated, we started in 1980. Crack hit our community, I would say 1984, 85, And whew, none of us could have been ready for what was going to go on for the next 15 years. I could not have done it without the staffing that I've had over the years. People who were very committed. I mean, we would put, help young people, help parents who are on drugs, go into drug treatment programs. And if their family members couldn't take care of the children, our staff would take them home for the 90-day treatment programs that they would go into. So I've had some dynamite people working for us during that period of time too. When I retired, I had to close the organization. And unfortunately, services that we were providing are still in need. There was never a time that I wanted to give up on my vision. There's never a time, even through the times that I didn't get the funding that I thought that I needed. Many times we operated with no funds. I just did what I wanted to do. As long as I had a roof over our heads, we were going to open those doors. And I always said that once I became an adult, I would help people if I could.
Joining us in the studio to talk more about Brenda and the Parklands Community Center is student producer Monique Washington. Monique, welcome to Student Exposure.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you, and we really enjoyed that story about Brenda. She's touched a lot of lives. Can you tell me more about some of the lives she's impacted?
Absolutely. As you saw in the video, Delonte Harrison, she touched him greatly. And not just her, it was also Parklands Community Center as well. And as he mentioned, there were things that Parkland Community Center provided for him and other youth and even adults as well that wasn't necessarily provided in the community. And so with that being said, with her establishing Parklands Community Center, she created a safe haven for other youth and for adults as well to get off of, as she said, you know, drugs,
yes,
gangs, and violence that is in the community as well. And so now Delonte works for the Supreme Court Justice System. So as you can see, the impact that she had on him has greatly produced an intelligent and strong man in our community.
Excellent, excellent. What an inspiration. Now, tell us, why is Brenda's story about the work she has done for over 40 years still important today?
It's still important because, as Brenda Jones stated, a lot of the work that they were doing, there's still more work that needs to be done now. Now, unfortunately, Parklands Community Center is closed, but they became a part of the ARC in 2005, and the ARC now is a great place, a safe haven for the youth in many communities on the east side of the Anacostia River. So there are things still being provided to the community, to the youth, and also to the adults in the community, even though Parklands Community Center is closed.
Wow. So if there was someone who thought that they would like to try to make a difference in the lives of youth but figured, oh, I'm just one person, what do you think Brenda would say to them?
She would probably say, if I can do it, you can do it as well, especially the philanthropy that she was doing in the 80s when crack had started its rise in DC. So if she can do that in the 80s through that epidemic that was going on, anyone can do it now.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing this story with our Student Exposure audience. Brenda's story demonstrates that one person is capable of making a difference in the toughest circumstances. For more information, please visit www.thearcdc.org. After the break, our last segment will shed light on a chef that is helping to serve the DC homeless. Stay tuned.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Making donations and serving in soup kitchens are ways to help DC's homeless population. But what about becoming their personal chef? Thanks to Chef Stephen Wilson, the homeless here in D.C. are eating a lot healthier. Let's find out more.
My name is Stephen Wilson, but people call me Chef Stephen Wilson. What inspired me to feed the homeless? Because there's a need, and because I'm in a position to feed the homeless. I have access to a full-service kitchen. I have access to people in the community that can make a difference. So I believe that if you can, you should, and I'm able to. So there's no reason why I shouldn't. My most memorable moment is just being out there with them, being out there with the community, with the less fortunate, seeing their faces when we feed them. Wow. Thanksgiving, we adopt families. We work with other companies, and I turn my catering office into a restaurant. So I actually dim the lights, get some candles, put on some soft music, set up the table really, really nice. Because some families, and they're not all homeless, some families that are less fortunate really don't know what it's like to go out to a restaurant. Tell you about my other community services. There's a few more. I have one called the Virtuous Woman Bridal Gala, which we give away $10,000 every year to a couple. So basically it's a free wedding. And it's basically, they get their dress for free, they get their catering for free, they get their limousine for free, they get their decor for free, and you have to go online and register, and it's a big deal. And then we also have 3 Fish 5 Loaves is a community effort that I started, and we go out and we feed the homeless, but we also feed the seniors. So we go to senior living facilities, and we either feed them or we have a party night. We go there, we have some music, we have some dancing, stuff like that. So it's all about giving back, and it's so much fun, Because and I don't do it for the camera. I don't do it for social media. I don't do it to post pictures on Facebook or on Twitter or Instagram saying, hey, look at me, look what I've done. I do it because I know what it feels like to struggle. Because I've been close to homelessness myself. I've been close to eviction myself. So I know what it feels like to have that, to be in a bad mental place, which most people who are homeless, they're in a bad mental place. And when you can't deal with that bad mental place, it results in homelessness. So I understand how easy it is to just lose your mind. I understand when you feel like just life can get so hard and you feel like no one cares, And so when you feel that way, sometimes the easiest way out is just to not care. I wish people would just care. That's my wish. I wish people would just care. Because it doesn't take a lot of money to help somebody. It doesn't take you being in a position of power or a position of authority. It doesn't take you living in a certain neighborhood, making certain amount of money. Anybody in this room right now can make a difference. What's the saying? You teach someone to fish and they'll never go hungry or something like that. But if you show someone that you care and give them hope, then that just makes them happy. It makes me happy to know that I've done something that could possibly change someone's life, and then they too can own their own company like I do.
Joining us in the studio today is student producer Sharon Brown. Welcome, Sharon. Welcome to Student Exposure.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, indeed. And watching that story about Chef Stephen, he is so creative, resourceful, and passionate about what he does. Where do you think he got the inspiration to serve like that?
He's very passionate. He had a catering job and he lost that, which had him almost homeless.
Wow.
So what we're seeing about him is from his heart. Fortunately, he had a brother, and his brother assisted him, and he said, well, you know, let me start cooking for the people. So he did that. He saved up more money, was able to get a small condo, and that's where he began starting to feed the homeless from his kitchen in his condo.
Just from a small condo to a great effort.
That was the beginning, yes.
Wow, that was the beginning. Now, were there any stories he mentioned that really stood out to you?
Yes, it was a story about two young brothers. They were teenagers and their parents were killed by a drunk driver. And they didn't take it well. It led to them doing drugs, and then they became homeless. And during their homelessness, has a good ending, during their homelessness they met Chef Wilson. And not only did he feed them naturally, food, you know, he also fed them spiritually. So they were able to get up on their feet. They're now working citizens and they share an apartment together.
Wow, excellent,
So, yeah,
excellent.
he's a blessing.
Wow, so he really helped to change their life story and
yeah.
gave them a happy ending. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you so much for that. As you can see, the homeless are in good hands and good health with Chef Wilson serving our community. For more information, you can visit endhomelessness.org.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. No.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Well, this concludes another episode of Student Exposure, a student production of DC TV. I'm your host, Karen Curry, and thank you for joining us for today's episode, Unsung Heroes and Heroines. We hope these stories were informative, inspiring, and helpful to you. For more information on programming or training opportunities at DC TV, visit our website at dctv.org. Also, follow us on Twitter and Facebook to stay connected with DC TV events and projects. See you next time.